Welcome to Universally Judged with Siera Birchall. On the Universally Judged podcast, we share the stories that you haven't heard from pageant title holders, models, content creators, and actors. In each interview, our guests share a behind-the-scenes look at their life and the lessons they've learned along their journey. This podcast is created in collaboration with Dive Through, a mental wellness company that helps people dive through what they're going through.
Welcome back to the Universally Judged podcast. Today I chat with my friend Ashely Callingbull. Ashely and I actually competed together at Miss Universe Canada back in the day, and Ashely was in the audience at Miss Universe when I was representing Canada. Her and her mom were waving the Canada flags. She is such an inspiration for young women around the world. She comes from Enoch Cree Nation just outside of Edmonton. She's been on the Amazing Race Canada. She's a spokesperson for RW & Co. She is a public speaker, motivational speaker extraordinaire, and she has a lot of wonderful things to say today. She gives us the overall message of why not? Why not chase those dreams? Enjoy my conversation with Ashely Callingbull. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you because you and I, over the years, we've one, competed in pageants together. Two, you were actually in the Philippines cheering me on at Miss Universe. A lot of people won't know this, but my family wasn't in the Philippines. You were there with your mom. So when people see Canada, like me walking on stage, making it to the top 13, it was you and your mom waving the Canada flags.
That was us. We were just like super fans. We had like the best seats. So I was like, yeah.
That was awesome. I felt the support, and we got to chat a couple times there. What was that like being at Miss Universe? Like, what was the energy like? Like, give us a vibe.
You know what's crazy is that I've been to like pageants everywhere and even like Miss USA and watched Miss Universe in person before, but nothing compares to it in the Philippines. Like nothing. It was insane. And the hotel that I was staying at, like all the girls were staying there, so a lot of people thought I was a contestant, so I felt a little special sometimes, but I wasn't. But everyone was just super fans. They were following the girls everywhere, like parades, signs, but they were super supportive. And that's what made it feel good, is that, they really love pageantry over there. And then getting to, have lunch with Paula, Sugar, and, and Pia and everyone else that was there. It was like so intimate and cool. I was like, wow, whoever thought I'd be sitting here in the Philippines. There's fans screaming outside the glass because Pia's in there, right? So I was like, wow, this is quite an experience. And then watching it that close, seeing, all these directors and candidates I've looked up before, people that I'm also fans of, and then knowing someone competing, it was like, oh, best time ever. My mom, we still talk about it all the time. We're like, remember that time in the Philippines? And then because I won that Omaze competition.
Yes, I was going to say,
what are the odds?
I was going to say, we need to set the scene because, okay, Miss Universe 2016 happened in the Philippines in January 2017. I was representing Canada. You happened to enter this contest with Omaze, and you won the contest, and they flew you from Canada to the Philippines to watch Miss Universe.
Yeah. I was like actually in the Bahamas on vacation, got a call, hey, you won the contest. You get to go to watch Miss Universe, fly to the Philippines. You get to get crowned by Pia and wear her sash and everything and have dinner with them. I was like, no way. I said, Mom, I'm coming back to Canada and we're going to the Philippines. That was like, it was such an awesome experience. I had like all the fun that you guys get to have, but no stress.
That's true. I was going to say, you got to have the best time without the competition stress, which is amazing. Speaking of competition stress, you've competed before. You won Mrs. Universe 2015, and you've competed at Miss Universe Canada, I think a couple times, right? You've been in the top 5. Have pageants always been a part of your life? I know about your history, but I want to hear you share your story.
So not the kind of pageants that we do, but I actually started my first pageant when I was 6 years old on my reserve. So it's not like a normal beauty pageant we would compete in. It's like a traditional pageant where you represent your community. There's tiny tot, junior, senior. You dance in your regalia, you speak your language, and you do all these things for the community and raise funds for the community. So I ended up, that was the first pageant I ever did. And I won all 3 titles. And after that, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing, but completely different from what I've competed in, like what we've competed in. And never did a pageant after that till 2010.
Wow,
So
which was
that whole time.
Miss Universe
Yeah,
Canada.
Miss Universe Canada.
Wow, and you landed in the top 5 though, didn't you?
Yeah, second
Wow.
runner up. I just
What?
couldn't believe it. Yeah,
That's
because you know, when you go into a pageant, there's girls that are returning for like, God, maybe the, you know, second, fourth,
third,
fifth
fourth, yeah.
time. Yeah, and you know, and you keep thinking maybe they're gonna place better, they're gonna do better, you know. But really, I was just hoping like I would represent myself well and have fun, and that was like such a eye-opening experience for me. Definitely learned a lot about myself and pageants in that pageant.
I feel like that's one of the biggest things about pageantry is you learn so much about yourself that you didn't even know. It's crazy. And then you went on to win Canada, like you won the national title for Canada to represent Canada at Mrs. Universe. You won Mrs. Universe in China. What was that?
Oh no, in Belarus.
Oh, Belarus. And you passed the title in China?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I passed the title in China. Yeah.
Okay. What was that?
Yeah, that was amazing because, you know, I just went on my own. I thought this is my last pageant before I retire, you know, hang up the sash. And so, you know, I go there and, you know, I'm thinking like, you never know what's going to happen. I don't know this organization that well, you know, and it's hard with like language barriers and everything like that. But I had a great time. And then I thought like, if I win, like, what am I going to do after, you know, what am I going to do with this? Because it's a pretty monumental, like to me anyways, knowing it's my last pageant. And I kind of planned out like to call out some things in politics at the time if I were to place or not, just because I knew I would get some kind of mainstream media attention, but I honestly didn't think I would get that much where it was so excessive.
It was crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, and I think what's so important, and I want people to know, is that you use that attention to bring attention to important issues that are happening in Canada that a lot of people don't even know about. You came from, it's Enoch Cree Nation, just outside of Edmonton, and you're living in Edmonton now. What was that like to represent Enoch Cree Nation, like globally, and then in Canada, raising awareness about issues that we don't even know as Canadians are happening?
It was a proud moment. I felt like it was a great time for me to educate all these women that I met across the world because, you know, what you know about us or Indigenous people is what you basically see in movies or what's written in books. So a lot of people couldn't understand, like, and grasp that, like, I came from so much trauma, like intergenerational trauma, like things to do with residential schools. They didn't know any of that. You know, when a lot of people think of Canada, they think it's just the most wonderful country. You know, at some points it is, but not for everyone. You know, and being able to show everyone like what my true culture is instead of being, you know, like this Pocahontas style token figure, you know what I mean? Being able to show people my actual culture, like share my actual language, share my dances. It was amazing. And, you know, it's not something you see a lot of Indigenous women doing, like in, you know, in the pageantry anyways, but now there's more. So that's great. But, you know, being like the first, it was actually hard because there was so much pressure on me. But, you know, I knew that I was just going to take all the negativity, take all the judgment. And I thought, you know, I'm just opening the door for whoever wants to follow.
That's amazing. I love that so much. Yeah. And so actually, speaking of, I wanted to ask you about Pocahontas, because Pocahontas is on Disney Plus. How do you feel about the movie, and should it be allowed on Disney Plus? Why or why not? I feel like now is this pageant mode?
You know, it is crazy is that when I was a kid, like I obviously watched Pocahontas, thought it was great. And now when you're older and you watch some Disney movies, you're like, how is that okay? How is that allowed? Like so racist, or seeing violence. And, you know, there is no way if I was Pocahontas, I wouldn't leave that hottie of a native guy I had for John Smith.
Yeah, what the hell?
But no, it's
Coco, like, he's a stud.
Yeah, but the people don't really, you know, you see this Disney version of Pocahontas, but you don't know like the real sad, true version of like she was just a very young girl that was taken from her home, you know, and she died very young. All these bad things happened to her. So, you know, seeing it now, I kind of wish they would educate people or do like some kind of re-storytelling, like a true story, you know, but like a lot of their shows aren't that good anymore with the things that we have now that people are talking about, like Peter Pan, for example.
Oh, I know.
The old movie,
Yeah.
they say, like, you know, call us all these terrible names and do these like racial gestures. And I'm like, wow, how did I watch this when I was a kid? And, you know, how was it okay then? But, you know, I mean, hopefully Disney gets their stuff together. And if they want to do a proper story, I'm available.
Oh, there you go. Ashely's available for hire. I read this book. I think it's called The Inconvenient Indian. Have you read it or heard about it?
No.
Okay, I'll have to show you. It's really good. And he talked about, I forget where, like what community he's from, but he did a bunch of research that he is claiming that Pocahontas actually wasn't a real person, that it is like a made up story.
Ooh.
I know. Yeah, I got it.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I got to show you this, but you'll find it very interesting. But it's like a bestseller at Indigo, and it was very good. But that's what people don't know, is that Pocahontas was a real woman, or from what we know, and they totally like glamorized it for Disney, made it seem like this,
sexualized her. Yeah.
made it seem like this whole fantasy world. Are there any positive takeaways from Pocahontas in your opinion? The Disney movie.
Well, in the end, I guess she realized she don't need a man to succeed. Like, you don't need no man. Like, bye, get out of here, boy, bye. But no, like, you know, it was nice to see that, you know, her, how she feels about her people, that power and that strength and being home. Because, you know, when I travel so much, like I'm always away. When I'm home, like, you feel really grounded, especially on the reserve, and like that's where my culture is, right? It's where like the sweat lodges and stuff like that. So you feel connected. And in that movie, I feel like that was for her, that connection to the land and her people. I like that. That's the good takeaway. And the cute little animal.
There you go. I love, the raccoon and the bird. They're cute. Flit.
And I'm like, and who else can just jump off a cliff like that?
I know. And dive into the water.
Like, I wish I could do that.
Okay, speaking of community and being connected to culture, you grew up on reserve, but then you lived with your grandparents for a while in Edmonton, about 20 minutes from the reserve. What was different about growing up on the reserve versus living with your grandparents just in the city?
Well, I actually lived with my grandparents on the reserve.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We didn't live in the city.
Okay.
And then I ended up moving away to another reserve when I was younger for 5 years. And like living with my grandparents was amazing because it's so close to the city. It's like literally now probably 15 minutes. And, you know, it's a completely different lifestyle than when you're in the city. But then once me and my mom moved away even further to another reserve that was really isolated, that was hard. It was such a hard transition because we were in a community that was surrounded by even more racist communities. Oh. So when I was 6 years old, I experienced my first hit of racism, which is coming off the bus. They called me out on my skin color, called me a dirty Indian, told me to go home, threw rocks and dirt at me in my first day of grade 1 in a school that was off reserve. So I didn't know what it was going to be like. I was excited, you know, start something new. But like, that was the first time I ever, you know, felt ashamed to be who I was. But then your grandparents always tell you to never be ashamed. But then it's like, why are people doing this? You don't understand at a young age.
No, and why would you? Going like 6 years old, how could you understand? Speaking of your skin color, and you mentioned tokenism, do you ever feel like you are like the token Indigenous woman?
Sometimes people say that. They
tell you?
Like,
they say it to you.
They're like, oh, she's the girl. Yeah. Oh, that's the one. You know, you think of like the model Native girl. People, you know, they think of me or the Native activist girl. Oh, it's her, you know. And I feel like that's obviously a problem. So when I work with different brands and stuff, I make sure that they're not just using me for like, you know, my ethnicity, for that diversity and inclusion kind of look, because that's the token I don't want to be. So I'm like, if you want to work with me, you got to give back to the communities I work with, or give back to my community or these Indigenous kids. So you're actually like doing some good instead of just, you know, making me profit from something, you know, and using my face, my image. So I try to avoid that at all costs because that's not how I want to be seen.
No, absolutely. And I was curious if you'd ever felt that, because I feel like people
like to put people into these boxes, just like you have probably felt, or that people have obviously straight up said to you. You've done a lot of work with RW and Co. And I've heard you talk about that they give back to the communities that you think they should give back to. What has that been like? Because again, you're not just a model. You're not just being like, here I am, an inspiration for myself and young women. Like you've done so much that you are an inspiration, but you are actually working with them to give back in a way that's beyond just being a beautiful face and a smart woman. Like you're doing so much. Tell us about your role with them and what you've done.
So, other than being a spokesperson, going to all their events, being able to meet with women who are a part of the shelters that they donate back to, being able to connect with people like that. And actually, so we started another thing called the Shoebox Project, where we put like female necessities, things that we need, women that are at risk. We decorate them, write inspirational notes, and, and deliver them off to these different shelters. So that's like one of the things. And with me, like I wanted to give back to an Indigenous shelter. So, well, it's mostly Indigenous. I think 90% of the women there have the same story that I have coming up, how I grew up, and knowing that RW and Co like actually goes out of their way to go and, pay for things, to actually fund things, to set up events, to make it inclusive to these people, to feel like, we're involved, we're a part of this community. It's so good. It's better than just, having that one day of photo shoots for a campaign and it's over. It's like RW and Co just keeps going and going and going and just keeps giving and giving. And that's what I really love about them, is that, they got strong role models and good speakers, but it's the hidden work that they do, and they don't brag about it, the good work that they do. So it's amazing to see like Canadian companies really give back like that. And, they don't have to. So that's, wonderful.
I love hearing that, because I guess what I wanted to like talk about with this is that there are brands that are putting people of color, people like showing diversity. They're just trying to show the diversity and be like, look we're doing it. We're doing a good job. Yeah. And they don't go above and beyond like RW and Co by actually giving back, like you said, without bragging about it, because it is, I like to hear about it from you. I think that's amazing. I would like to actually hear more from RW and Co about what they're doing, and more brands should do that. But I think that it shows that it's that much more meaningful, that they aren't just showcasing it and putting it in the spotlight.
Yeah, they're really like trying to empower women and really bring them together. And I love that. I love that they have these two other strong women like speaking alongside me, we're all different walks of life, and then they chose in their own charity. So it's women from everywhere. It doesn't matter what your background is. Like they're helping us. It's amazing.
That is so cool. And you are not only a spokesperson, a public speaker, you are also a model, an actor. Tell us a bit about your acting career. And I saw you just landed a new role or something. I know you probably can't tell us about what it is, but give us a history of what your acting life has been like. And do you say actor or actress? Everyone has their preferences.
I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay. I like to act, but I usually just say actress, I guess.
Okay.
I'm a lady.
But,
I'm a lady.
Some women, when I say actress, they're like, no, I'm an actor.
No, I'm an actor.
So
yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, whatever floats your boat.
There you go.
But yeah, for me, I did start by doing commercials when I was a little girl. And after that, there was nothing. I decided, I was really weird. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I always practiced different voices, like training myself to make different cartoon voices or imitations of people. And then I started getting trained in it. And then I did cartoons for a while. And nobody like knows this, or cartoons in different languages and stuff. Like I'm so good at memorizing and learning new languages and doing these things. Yeah. So that's how I started. And then I got into high school and started doing like musical theater. And then I started doing more like theater outside of school. And then I got into Blackstone, and I did other series too, but Blackstone was something that I filmed for like almost 5 years. I like grew up on that show. I like went from, doing my Miss Universe Canada, like winning the pageant after, like it was crazy. I grew up on that show, and now I just landed another role. I can't say what it is yet, but like I'm super pumped, and I get to film at the end of the month. So that will be really nice. It's almost like some normalcy back in my life. Definitely.
And is that like will that be a short filming, or is it going to be again like a long time of filming?
Well, I have some dates and it's like all of December, but then I think Christmas is off. But yeah, we're going to be filming right away and who knows how long and who knows what it's for. But yeah, I could say it's a TV
Yeah.
series
Okay, cool. That's exciting.
shot in Alberta, which is nice because
Very
it's where
cool.
I'm from.
Exactly. That is so exciting. I definitely can't wait to hear what it is and be able to share what it is eventually. Being from Alberta, you normally fly all over the place. You're always traveling, not in these times, but you're always jet setting. What does it feel like to be back in Alberta? Does it feel good to be back? Are you missing all those flights, the early mornings?
Honestly, when this whole lockdown happened, I was living in Florida. The Canadian government says, hey, you guys got to come home. It's not safe. So packed my life up and we drove back to Alberta. And I've been here since March. And I'm one of those people that I'm always on flights every week. Sometimes 6-7 times I'm flying a week, which is crazy. Different cities every day. And when I got to settle down and slow down, it was, I kind of got, I don't know, I couldn't handle it. I felt like I had ants in my pants. Like I just needed to go somewhere that was just like my life. And now it actually felt good to relax, to rest, because that took out a lot on my body. Traveling like that was just so exhausting. And then getting to be home with my family, nothing better than that. But then, during this pandemic, I guess kept thinking like, what am I going to do? All my events have been moved or canceled, and then everything turned virtual. And then I thought I might as well just, focus on my mental health, because wow, like that, it hit me really hard having to be locked up like that. And then having like no idea of what's going to happen, and like being scared, also like not wanting to hang out with my grandpa because I'm scared, like what if I get sick and I don't know and get him sick, So I started working out because I wasn't at all. Because when I got back, I was just sitting there eating cheesies all day. And I was just starting to feel, kind of down and sad. Yeah. And I thought maybe I should get moving. I don't know, stretch at least, and then start doing some workouts. And I started running, and running like really cleared my mind. And now I feel really good. I actually eat healthy and work out now. Like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what this pandemic did to me.
Ashely, who are you? It's so funny.
I feel good.
That is great. That's so good to hear. Because I remember we went to New York 3 years ago together on a trip. We were doing, I guess, like a mini speaking thing. And I remember us talking about working out, and you're like, yeah, no, like working out, not for me. And then here you are. I see your stories, like lifting, squatting, running. I'm like, who is this woman? This is amazing. So I think that's fantastic. And you said it's helped with your mental health. Like, it's great to feel good physically, but what has working out done for your mental health?
It honestly made me feel like I had more energy and I felt accomplished. Every day, like I would get up early, and then, whatever is early that day, and I go to the gym, and, once I get a workout in, like those endorphins get going, and I just felt more confident, like not looking at myself, but feeling like I accomplished something. I worked on myself and I was good about it, was healthy. And then I feel like energized for the rest of the day. Like, ooh, what else can I get done? I put myself through that hell this morning. What else can I get done for the rest of the day? But it's a good feeling, like accomplishment, right? Especially in a time where it feels like you can't really do anything. So that's what it felt like to me.
That's really good to hear, because I just think you probably needed the rest. You needed this like time to work on yourself, whether you knew it or not. And maybe it just
that's what everyone said.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I'm very happy for you. What kind of advice do you have then for people who maybe they're like, working out is not for me? You kind of felt like you were that person. What kind of first steps, or what advice would you give for someone to take those first steps of doing something better for themselves physically, mentally, when they're feeling down, sad, like they don't know what tomorrow is going to bring?
Yeah, so I was feeling a lot like that at the very beginning of this, because, my life was canceled, everyone's was canceled. So I felt like I had no motivation, but I felt like I needed to give myself something to look forward to. Like, even in a time this is so uncertain, set a goal. It will make you feel good, to set a goal, whatever it is. Like, if you're not really into working out, it's good to go outside and go for a walk, get some fresh air, take your dogs out. I felt like nature and being outside more helped me a lot, because being cooped up inside and living in this virtual world now, you can't be the healthiest at times, you know? So that's the last thing I want to do, is just be on my phone all day looking at things. And I'd rather like be enjoying and being present in the moment, and kind of being thankful that I have this time with my family. I have this downtime, because once the world gets up and going again, you know, your life's going to go back to being this fast paced thing. So, you know, at times like this where we feel like we're not doing anything, it feels good to just kind of like sit back and be thankful that, you know, we're still able to be with our families, or still be able to do some things in like a safe way. So for me, it's just all about kind of still setting some kind of goals for myself to, you know, keep me going, right? To something to look forward to. And then just being thankful that I'm actually healthy, you know, I'm safe in these times, and, you know, being thankful that I can be home. So it's a good time to rest and relax, and definitely re-energize the soul. I feel like we all need to do that.
I absolutely agree. So it's a little bit about shifting the perspective of, rather than being like, oh, I can't do everything I used to, rather I'm doing things that I haven't been able to do maybe ever.
Or let's try something new, you know, like let's see what else is out there. You know, I think it's just really important to put yourself out of your comfort zone, and you can kind of see what you're made of and see what you're capable of.
Ooh. Oh, she is a motivational woman.
Oh, okay.
Talking about being on your phone, you have a huge Instagram following. So do you ever consider yourself like an influencer or content creator? I know that's probably kind of a side thing to what you normally do, but I see you doing some campaigns here and there. Do you ever kind of identify with that role?
I like doing the campaigns because the companies I work with, they always give back or help out somehow. So I'm like, they got to do something like that in order to work with me. But a content creator, not really. I'm like, I'm not very good at that. I only make workout videos, and sometimes I show things I'm cooking. But influencer, I guess, to an extent, I guess how some people would view me as, like the things that I post and whatnot. But really, I'm just kind of posting some day-to-day life things, and then only posting major things here and there, because I'm trying not to be on my phone that much. But social media is just such a good way to like connect to, right? And such a way to get like all your information and whatnot, and be able to kind of like make a difference in a time where we're stuck at home. So yeah, I would say I'm, you know, just popular on Instagram a little bit.
There you go. You are an influencer without trying to be one, in the sense of using your voice to raise awareness about important issues. And I've learned so much from you, because I don't have the same perspective as you, as many people don't. And I think that's part of what makes it so cool to be on social media, is sharing our perspectives and sharing our stories, and sharing that not everything looks the same to everybody, and there's different ways to view things. So to me, I feel like you're very influential without trying to be, I guess. Like, I mean, I know you use your voice actively and everything, but I think what I love so much about you is that you never like push stuff on people. You're just like, this is how it is to me, this is how I see things, and that's it. Like, you never, I don't know, you never seem like you're trying to be somebody else, like you're trying to push things on people. And I think that's probably why a lot of people value your opinion, is because they know that you're not trying to push stuff on them, like from a pushy place, I guess. Like, that's just not who you are.
Yeah, I just really kind of give like an honest perspective on things, especially like from how I view things and what I've experienced. And I say it how it is, you know, and I'm like, if you don't like it, don't follow me.
There you go. That's right. That's right. And what do you want people to know about the Indigenous community and some of the misconceptions, perhaps? Because I think there's a few things. A lot of people don't know that there are Indigenous communities in Canada, that don't have access to running water. They don't know that there isn't just this simple divide of like reserve and city. Like, they just don't know. Like, they aren't educated. What do you want people to know? What do we need to do? How can we do better? And like, I don't know. You know so much more. Give us a rundown.
So, you know, say for example, when I was in school, when they go to talk about learning about Indigenous communities, everyone would turn to look at me, but then it would be a blip, and that's it. No true history, nothing like that. When I was in social studies, they never talked about that. So, you know, a lot of people don't know how intergenerational trauma even began. You know, for me, I grew up, I was, you know, living in poverty and abused. Me and my mom were on our own. my abuser, he was abused by his parents, who were abused in the residential school system. So it's just something that, continued on in this terrible cycle. And also, like, our murdered and missing Indigenous women in Canada, it's finally like being acknowledged, but there's not much being done about it. And there's women constantly every day still going missing. And it's like scary to know that, I'm Indigenous and I could be a target. And it doesn't matter like who you are or where you come from. The media always portrays this like negative image of the woman that, she deserved it, or she was in a rough lifestyle. That's just the way the media depicts us. And it's sad, so many women are going missing, and what is our government doing about it?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Right.
And it's just sad that people don't value our lives. And that's just like a common thing here in Canada, but no one really knows about it. And, like the kids that are in the foster care system now, people call that the new residential school, how they're treated and how kids are being taken from their homes. And then, like you were saying, no access to clean running water. There's lots of Indigenous people in Canada that are living in third world poverty. And then there's people that are just thriving. And the only way our country can thrive is if, we're thriving together. But so much of us are just suffering. We don't have access to any of these things. And people that are non-Indigenous mistreat us or get mad at us and say, like, stop complaining, this and that. And I'm like, well, maybe you should learn about the true history of Canada and, why they should honor their treaties, why we have these just tiny little pieces of land, why we're separated like this. Because when things first started out, there was no borders for us. When my grandma talked about it, she said, we're all brothers and sisters. There's no borders. They were just created. And then there was a system that was created
system, right?
Yeah. To basically like kill us off. And then, to erase our culture. And it's crazy to see, like, we're still here. There's people that speak our language and our culture is just thriving. And it's so beautiful. But, people don't see the suffering. And like even the 60 scoop survivors, like the last residential school that closed was in 1996. Like
we were both
not
alive.
long ago.
I know. Yeah.
So, when people even give me a hard time, they say, I pay your taxes. Like, you don't pay taxes, all this stuff. And I'm like, I had to pay a lot of taxes this year, I'm like, I didn't get like free rides anywhere. People think that, I got a lot of free rides for like school or, taxes, this and that, or having just access to things from my community. But I'm like, no, I didn't get any of that. I'm like, I'm just like you, but I'm coming from a rougher place, a place that we were put in. So there's so many things wrong with our country in regards to like Indigenous people, like fighting for their land, fighting for their rights, being mistreated because, we're fighting for what's rightfully ours. And it's hard. No one wants to give us a voice. They want to silence us. Like the RCMP, our government, it's sad. But, the way Indigenous people are, they're really uniting together, bringing their voices together, and they won't stop speaking up. So I don't see us ever backing down.
What I think is also so sad is that a lot of times we want to protect land or protect the environment, just like out here with the whole fishing situation. Like, I don't want to get into it, but I feel like people are coming from a place of wanting to protect and honor. And then the other side, it's like take, and like, well, it's our right because we basically need to keep the economy going, or some sort of I shouldn't say nonsense. I won't get too much into all of that. But in terms of silencing voices, I feel like you're doing exactly what you need to do. And I don't want to say empowering because people always use that word too much, but you are empowering other people to use their voice, whether they're Indigenous or not, to be able to stand up for what they believe is right, because our voices are so much stronger when they're together, when they come together. And so I commend you on using your voice because, you have a very influential and powerful voice, and people will listen to people like you, especially when then more and more people come together. On this topic, a lot of people like to use the word reconciliation. And I want to roll my eyes at the term because, as you know, I'm a law school graduate, and I can't tell you how many times I heard, read, or wrote the word reconciliation. What does that even mean to you? Can we even get to a place? Because like you just said, the foster care system is basically the new residential school. So are we just entering a new world of the cycle, or what the hell?
I'll feel like I'll tell you what reconciliation is when I finally see it. Like it sounds bad, but a lot of people use that word and they think, that Canada's like bridging this gap and whatnot. And I'm like, well, first off, I'm like, the healing needs to start within our own communities, and we're just battling a system that was created against us. So I feel like the only way that we're going to get to a point where we feel good about who's governing us is if we're governing ourselves.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just a constant battle, and it's like it's sad, but we definitely need more Indigenous representation at that table, like at the big table making the decisions. Why are there people who are non-Indigenous that have never been brought up in our lifestyle, don't understand us? Why are they making decisions for us? That's what I don't understand. You know what I mean? It's not fair, but it's like, that's the world we live in.
It isn't fair. And I think what you said is people making decisions for you. And what a lot of people don't know is like the whole system, you're exactly right. Obviously, it was created to try to diminish and kill the Indian. That's what it was all created for. Put people on reserve to try to just keep them in one place, have the pass system where they literally have to say like, I want to leave to go do anything. And if not, then like, see you later. There's just so much. It's just, oh man, I don't know. I feel like I can't imagine the frustration that you feel. But on a positive note, do you feel like things are changing? Do you feel like from in your adult life, have you seen things improve or not really?
A little.
Okay.
So little. Okay. But like, I feel like people are using their voices more, yes. But the most important thing is that like, if you're non-Indigenous, like it's so important for you to be an ally, not just speak up, but show up. What more can you do and what more can you learn? Like, I feel like there's this toolkit that teaches you about like what's happened in Indigenous history and stuff that's like accessible to all Canadians right now. And you can learn about everything fast and easy and, have that understanding, because I feel like, all Canadians should know where you're living, where you're coming from, because we were here first. Like you should no. So it's crazy when people say like, go back where you came from. And I'm like, well, where did you come from?
Exactly.
Like,
you go back to where
I'm right here. I'm like, I'm from right here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is, I don't know. It is so, I find it so frustrating. So I can't imagine how you feel, because I feel like you can only say things so much. You can only do things so much before you probably feel like, is there a point? Do I keep going? Of course, I know you will, but what advice do you have for those, maybe for, say, somebody like me who I didn't grow up on reserve? What can someone like me do better, do more of? How can I show up more?
Oh, I think that it's good that you're doing stuff like this, like what you're doing now, being able to kind of like get my voice out there, my stories, the truth. And that's amazing, because you never know who it's going to resonate with, who you're going to reach, your followers and whoever is going to listen. So it's really important to also educate if you can. Like whatever you learn from someone, educate someone else and kind of like change your habits. There's like this behavior that people have to unlearn, especially how they treat Indigenous people. Like I feel like even if I go into a store now, I get followed right away, and I know it's because I'm Native or because the area I'm in is really racist. It's like you have to unlearn everything that you were told, and it's hard, right? But showing up for us is also like creating alliances like this. It's amazing what you're able to do and how you're able to connect with people, and it's all about that connection, creating all these connections with people. Getting to know like what we're actually dealing with, being a part of the movement. If you want to show up, whether if it's like a safe event or not, it's good to like be able to go to these events and hear others speak as well from their point of view, other Indigenous people, because you actually learn a lot. You learn a lot at protests, you learn a lot at these things, and you feel the passion. And once you feel that passion, like you feel like you want to give more and do more. So, showing up to those things, it lights a fire in you. That's what I gotta say.
It lights a fire that has to keep going, because I think that is part of some of this. It really, to me, starts at home with the narrative that we use among each other, the way that we speak about different groups of people. And I think a lot of people, they hear stuff over and over again as they're growing up, and they don't
ever change that perspective, because why would they? They don't go out of their way, because that's just, that's just the way it was. That's the way it is in their families, and that's how they view things. And so often, I mean, I've definitely made people feel uncomfortable before by saying, like, I don't really think that you should say that. And for example, many moons ago, I worked at a clothing store, and one of the things to watch for when it was someone that we thought might be suspicious was, this is what the word was, Native. Didn't say, that's all it said. And I actually reported it to the head company, and that individual was fired. They were a manager, and I didn't want to go out and be like, you deserve to be fired. But they were telling every young person who would work there, I shouldn't say young person, every person who was working at this store, they just saw that as acceptable. That's something that, that was made okay. This manager in a leadership role, they had that rule, whatever, and it just isn't right. It isn't okay. And no one would speak up, and no one said anything. I'm like, how did this happen for so many years of this person in this role? And no one said anything. I don't understand. And anyways, I think that something so small as using our voices by speaking up for something that isn't right, changing a narrative in a conversation can go so far. When there's a joke that's told that is offensive and people laugh, maybe nervously, they don't want to say anything, I feel like we shouldn't be afraid to say, you know what, that's not funny. That's not okay. We need to change the way we speak about so many different things. So anyway, thank you for
exactly.
It's
and it's hard. Also, if I'm with someone who's ignorant, that's not listening, you can't argue with stupid, but you can educate with kindness, and hopefully they'll open their ears and take some time to listen, because that's probably not what they're expecting.
That's true.
They're expecting hey, this is how it is. I'll tell you what it's like.
That's true.
So I try to do that sometimes, because some ignorant people, they really won't open up. They won't want to hear it, especially if they feel like they're being told you're wrong.
Right.
They're let's hear it from this perspective, or, well, I feel this way because, this is what I've experienced, and it's good to see things from both sides.
Most definitely.
How we get to know each other better.
Do you feel like you're met with a lot of, I guess, people who are defensive before they even get to talk to you and stuff, whether it be at one of your speaking events or just in life in general? Do you feel like you're met with resistance ever?
I am online a lot, but those are usually internet haters,
the trolls
in a bucket. But it's usually they get so much confidence behind a computer to say something about my ethnicity, or in regards to me just being Native in general. People say things like that, and it's ridiculous. Sometimes I'll take the time to respond if I feel like maybe they are misunderstood, or maybe they're just ignorant. But yeah, I feel like resistance is mostly online. In person, I have had some conversations with people who have had different points of views of Canada, and no, it's amazing. No, you guys get everything so easy. And I'm like, well, can I just give you some info of how I've lived and stuff, and what I experienced, because I'm actually Native. I can actually tell you, open your eyes, and they get shocked right away.
Right.
They're shocked.
Because again, I just don't think a lot of people just don't know. It's no excuse. Ignorance is not an excuse. But with the way our school systems are, it's why would people know any different sometimes?
I know. It's finally things are changing a little in the school systems, but it's it could have been a long time ago.
Yes, a long time ago. Speaking of a long time ago, let's go back to pageants and the fun of pageantry. What do you feel like pageantry, I guess, taught you about life? How has your pageant experience led you to where you are today?
Wow. Pageants definitely taught me a lot about myself, and also how to handle criticism and judgment. And it made me realize that when you compete in all these pageants, a lot of times you're trying to fit this mold of what they think the winner want, what they want, who it's going to be. I realized over time, the only person I could be is the best version of myself. That's the only way I'm going to be happy, or I'm just going to constantly be miserable trying to compete to be something that, I'm not, or, that's not who I am. But I remember, the first time I competed in Miss Universe Canada, I learned a really tough lesson. And it was weird, because I experienced racism when I was a kid, right? I didn't think I would experience it at that level. And when I got interviewed by one of the Toronto papers, they commented because there was only me, being Indigenous, a girl from Rwanda, and a girl who was Syrian. So they interviewed us because we were the only ones who weren't Caucasian.
Right.
And instead, they made a joke about me. And this was just like in 2010. They said, "Oh, there's a Native girl competing this year. I wonder what she's going to do for her talent. Is she going to sign welfare checks with her toes or chug Lysol?" And I just like,
Or wait, or
I was
what with
just
Lysol?
chug Lysol.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The paper?
And yeah. And right away, like a bunch of media reached out to me trying to get like this angry Native response from me, like, "Oh, how mad are you, Ashely? How mad does that make you feel he's saying that?" And I just remember saying, like, I feel sorry for him because he's so uneducated and ignorant. I'm like, he obviously has no idea who I am and doesn't want to take the time to learn, But
Good
it's
for
like
you.
I realized like there was going to be so much criticism and hate regardless of what it was, even if it was that far. People are going to judge you for no matter what reason in pageants, wherever you go. It doesn't matter. It's like, honestly, just go there and have fun and just do it for yourself. Have a great time. Like, because when I was young, when I first started doing pageants, that was the first time I kind of really traveled the world on my own, like going to these international pageants and then ending up with all these different women, learning so much about the world and about myself, how far I can push myself, how I'm in uncomfortable situations, how I can handle myself, and I was able to like learn more about other people. And I've never had connections like that before because I went from being like this girl in university, just always busy and, school nerd, and then doing beauty pageants and being on stage. There's thousands of people watching. You're like, oh my God, like, how am I handling this right now? You have to have really thick skin for pageantry, for sure.
You have to have really thick skin. You are right. And I do feel bad sometimes for those who get into the pageant world and don't have any kind of former pageant experience. Like for you, I know that the pageants you did when you were younger were much different than Miss Universe Canada. Like they were just different types of pageants, but you still had that experience being on stage, knowing you're being judged. And yeah, you have to be ready for it all. People are going to pick apart how you speak, how you look, how you walk, the way you put your hand on your hip. Like they're going to pick apart every single thing about you. What's been your biggest takeaway from your pageant experience? Is it like, not taking what people say so seriously, or what do you feel like is your biggest takeaway of just like your day-to-day, how you live your life?
I realized that, even through pageantry, acting, whatever I do, I can't make everyone happy. And I think the most important person that needs to be happy is me. I realize I can't please everyone. I learned that by, you try to do so much for people. People are never satisfied. You do something good, someone's jealous and upset. She thinks she's too good now because she's doing all these things. There's always going to be these negative people around. And me, I just realized like, I'm just going to focus on doing me, doing what makes me feel good. I'm like, I could care less. I'm like, if you're not, helping the cause, then what are you doing wasting your time letting my life bother you?
That's all you can do. That's what I always tell women who are competing. I'm like, all you can do is control yourself and how you present yourself. You cannot control how other women present themselves, what the judges think of you, what the judges think of others. You can only control what you do, what you say, and always have it be from a place of you being yourself and not trying to be like everybody else or be what you think the pageant mold is. You can only show up and truly be yourself, because when you show up as trying to be someone else, it just never works out well.
And you can see it. You can see it when girls, they train themselves to almost be like this robot of what they think is perfect. And then it sounds so rehearsed. And then it feels like you're not really getting to know that person. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It just feels like you're getting to know a product that this organization put together. And, that's not what I like at all. I'm like, just be authentic at all times.
Be authentic.
Live your life.
Be authentic, be genuine. One last kind of fun, whatever question. Do you have any advice for your younger self? Is there anything you wish you would have known when you were younger, Ashely?
I wish I wasn't so hard on myself. I wish that like I had someone that could tell me those things. You know, I didn't have anybody, and I didn't really have any friends when I was going through those schools. So I felt like I didn't have any dreams either, because I was just a girl from the reserve. And when you're in those tough situations and you're living like that, living with nothing, kind of eating day to day, you don't have dreams, and you don't feel like your life is worth anything. And I wish that I could, you know, tell myself, you know, love who you are for the way you were created, you know. And I feel like I lived in fear a lot because, you know, the situation I was in, yeah, I was in fear of my life. But then after that, that fear carried on, like in different aspects of my life, because I was just always afraid to like fail or not be good enough. And I realized that, you know, I'm perfect the way that I am. And then I should just live this fearless life of, you know, not being afraid of what I can accomplish, and always have this why not mentality. You know, why can't I do this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I actually got my mom to do a pageant.
Your mom,
you know, my
is
mom
so stunning. You guys, we definitely have to show a photo of your mom, because look out, world. You guys, I mean, I'm sorry to say this because I know you've heard it 1,000 times, but you guys could be sisters for sure. I know you're probably like, oh my God, literally rolling your eyes. She's so incredible.
She's the reason why I did that last pageant. She was actually going to try to compete.
You guys, can you imagine if you were competitors?
Against my mom.
Competing against your mom. Your mom wins or something.
I'd be happy for her.
Maybe a little bit.
But yeah, she like had, well, I guess she went through a lot, through everything that I went through, but then she like battled cancer twice, like was able to like come back from her bad back surgery where she wasn't supposed to be able to walk. And then after my sister passed, she went through, you know, like depression and stuff like that, and then having her mom pass. So she ended up just kind of like gaining a lot of weight and feeling like she had no goals. But my mom was honestly more obsessed with pageants than I was. She always wanted to be a part of that world or see it. So she kind of just like seen it from, you know, my experiences. And I told her, I'm like, well, what's holding you back? What's holding you back? She's like, I don't, you know, feel good enough. I don't, you know, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm like, you need to change like your mentality. Is like, I will help you get there. I was like, I'm going to make you feel amazing. I was like, I'll train you, all this stuff. And, you know, she ended up like working out with me, and she felt more confident because she always wanted to be in the glitz and glam and the gowns and everything. And she got that. And then she became Mrs. North America. And I was like, how does this happen? But my mom said, you know, it's because you said, why not?
Why not?
Why can't I do it? Right. So having that mentality, like, why can't I do this? Why can't I accomplish this? You know, what's holding me back? Yeah.
Why not? That is amazing. That's a great way to end. So thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for showing Papa. This is just the best. This is so great. Look at his shirt. He's got the purple baseball sleeves happening.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you so much. You are, as always, so incredible. I can't wait to hear and see about the new project that you're doing. It's going to be incredible. I already know.